Martin Zubimendi feels like he's been linked with Arsenal for about 3 windows now. We first heard about the rumours in January 2023, and then we've had another summer of rumours, and now another January of rumours. So it really feels like this summer could be the summer it finally happens for Arsenal. Will Mikel Arteta get his man from Real Sociedad? We're going to talk a little bit about him, but I want to say that the inspiration from this video comes from Joe C354 for this comment, saying that he believes that with the double pivot of Jorginho playing, it could be how we set up next season with Zubimendi or Douglas Luiz, which I thought was a really interesting point. I was reading through going, yeah, there's maybe something in this. Maybe this is a little bit of the long-term plan. Maybe Arteta did show his hand a little bit for how Zubimendi would play a longer-term part in the Arsenal team, especially after we just spent £105 million on Declan Rice. Knowing that Zubimendi is more a defensive midfielder than anything else, it makes you think, well, how do 2 6s fit in the team? Well, we might have just got our answer. I also wanted to talk about Jorginho a little bit more and that left 8 role he played. Well, let's say the evolved role he played against Liverpool, because my latest upload was a clip from AFTV, and I'm going to do something I haven't really done before, which is say I don't actually think I did a great job expressing myself on that video. That's not to say I've always expressed myself perfectly, but I actually wanted to follow up on what I said in that, give a little bit more clarity, and then build on the Zubimendi sort of research and argument in this video, because I don't think I expressed myself very well in that case. But let's just sort of touch in on what Jorginho did really well against Liverpool once again, because I think if we just go to the tactical pad here, it's the best way of illustrating how using him as the left 8 rather than, let's say in a double pivot with Rice, and allowing him to get forward that a little bit more, it gave Arsenal something different, and we saw a bigger benefit to Jorginho on the pitch in this area than we might have seen if he were a 6, for example, in this game. Now, the first thing that we got to keep by having Jorginho slightly out of position and in that kind of more roaming, central midfielder role over Declan Rice is this. We basically move everyone into position, and we were able to keep that trio of Saliba, Gabriel and Rice. I'm just moving around there to just show the flexibility between the 3. They all cover each other. They can all, step into different areas. But that is the 3 that Arsenal want to keep as a core in front of David Raya. It's such a steely part of Arsenal's team, and it's a base from which we play. And against Liverpool, Mikel Arteta didn't want to move away from that, and that's completely fair enough. We also got Jorginho building with Rice as a 2. That was the other thing we got, with White and Zinchenko holding the line. So we said, holding the which, should I say? So you basically had a 2-4 or a 4-2 build-up, the way you want to look at it. But the other thing we got at times was Zinchenko able to move into that sort of left 8 position with the 3 and the 2, and then we don't lose is Jorginho's ability to build up. You don't lose that 8, that player who can kind of receive in tight spaces on the half-turn and plays. Zinchenko's very good at that, but you also don't lose Jorginho in build up, even if he's not the out-and-out 6, let's say. But the other thing you get is when you do move everyone up the pitch into more attacking position, with Jorginho giving that a little bit more roam to sort of play. You see him sort of, I've got him in an area here, he's somewhat level with Ødegaard. This is Arsenal sort of attacking down the right / centre right of the pitch. Jorginho could play those passes into Bukayo Saka, or we saw another one which I'm illustrating here goes into Kai Havertz, but it was that ball to Martinelli. You remember the one where he just sort of looked like he was going to shoot, and he just sort of fainted and passed it through the lines into Martinelli, who's in on goal with a better touch and maybe gets a better shot away. So you got Jorginho's passing range in those areas as well. He wasn't so focused on just sitting deep and keeping safe, because Declan Rice could do that, and you gave Jorginho a little bit more free roam. Now, the big sort of set of stats that prove this, and I did bring these up again in the AFTV clip that you saw on Tactical Insight, was this from Cannon Stats, where you see his defensive actions that happened in that sort of left 8 area of the pitch, quite high up the pitch, able to go and press and cover, because again, Declan Rice is there. So he's, Jorginho, Carragher did a brilliant bit of analysis, and so did Graham, actually, talking about how Jorginho was able to go and press onto McAllister, but he was also able to just go and press where needed because the cover was there, and you weren't worried about leaving him a little bit more exposed in a really high pressing team. But if you look at the left of this as well, and I think the best way to show you is actually, if we just take it to the tactical pad here, what you get as well is this cluster of passes here, sort of from that left 8 area as well. When you see here on this graphic, there's 7 progressive passes, of which 3 of them happened in that left 8 area. One of them, I remember, he fizzed into Kai Havertz, and I think with a slightly better touch or whatever, I can't remember what happened after that. You're thinking Kai Havertz is in on goal. So Jorginho showed a creative side to his game against Liverpool, playing some really good balls in behind and looking a real creator for Arsenal when we did approach the final third as well. And all these things, I think, why ultimately playing as that left 8 was a massive benefit for Arsenal. And like I said, you didn't move massively away from the platform that Arteta's built with that trio of Saliba, Rice and Gabriel, but you also got Jorginho in build-up from a 6 position and in attacking areas as an 8. You got that kind of flexibility, and I think it gave Arsenal a lot of different ways to use Zinchenko and build up as well. I thought it was really clever from Mikel Arteta. So the question is Martin Zubimendi primed for that position, as Joe mentioned there in that comment? And by the way, I'm going to do a lot more of these kind of things. So any comments, any ideas you've got, let me know, and I can maybe make some videos around it, because it did spark this idea. I want to give full credit to him for it. But it's an interesting idea. So is Zubimendi made for that? In which case we get Ødegaard a little bit higher up the pitch. Let's not forget that Ødegaard had been playing in deeper areas. We have been seeing Ødegaard actually dropping into build-up with Declan Rice. So he clearly wants two there, and he doesn't always want to have to rely on Zinchenko to be the one next to Rice and that six to do it. So here's Martin Zubimendi's player profile. He's 25 years old. He's Spanish. He's about 5. Well, some depends where you look. Some say he's about 5'9", 5'10". I think Football Manager has him down at 5'11". He's right-footed. He's a defensive midfielder with his contract expiring in June 2027, but he has a release clause of 53 million to know as well. Arsenal and any club can pretty much activate that at any point. Now, a lot of people are saying, I think the reason they say, is he a Jorginho type, is because, naturally, you look at him, Spanish midfielder, you look at some comps, and he looks pretty good on the ball. So I wanted to have a look at his passing stats, but if I'm honest, they were somewhat underwhelming. If I just give you his FBref numbers that stood out in particular, what we've got here is this percentile ranking. Now, I've brought up percentiles before, many times before on AFTV and on this channel. What you need to know is the closer to 99 you are, the better you rank in the league amongst other midfielders or players in your position for that particular stat. So if you're kind of lingering around 50, that means you're basically around the bottom half, or sort of halfway in terms of ranking for these stats amongst others in your position in the league. And when you look here, he's not standing out as an absolute natural when it comes to passing, Zubimendi, compared to other players in La Liga, who are of course very technical, but still, if you look at pass completion, if you look at total pass distance, short pass completion, the best one is medium pass completion. He's in the top 20% for that. But otherwise, everything else, key pass is very low, assists very low, progressive pass is not great, and you're looking at that going, okay, that's slightly underwhelming. I thought we'd be looking at a player here whose numbers looked incredibly impressive from a passing perspective, but we're not really getting that. So I had a little look at his FBref numbers. I want to just show you how they look just at a sort of surface level compared to Jorginho. And you see it here. Look at the difference in green. And I know you're probably going, stats aren't everything, right? Some of you might watch, Zubimendi and Sociedad and go, listen, he's brilliant on the ball. FBref is, it's not telling you the full picture. Now that's fine. But I also watched comps and I didn't think he looked magnificent. Now you might be going, okay, but those are two players in different leagues and Jorginho is a very technical player. So then I bring in Frankie de Jong's numbers compared to Zubimendi's, and again, look at the amount of green on Frankie de Jong, incredible elite passer of the ball. And then I even wanted to bring up Casemiro, someone who is mentioned as a DM who's not a great passer of the ball, known for his defensive work, but again, some of those defensive numbers, they look a lot more encouraging than Zubimendi's. Again, two players in different leagues though, and in different teams, so I totally understand that there's context to all that. I'm not saying he's a bad passer of the ball. I watched some comps. He can certainly play a pass. He's certainly a good passer of the ball, but elite, is he like that perfect ball progressor to play alongside Declan Rice? I'm not 100% sure that the stats really tell you that. Some of his defensive numbers though are very good. Again, tackles in the middle third, he's in that top 30%, percentage of dribblers tackled, so he engages and put him in the 81st percentile, 82nd for challenges lost, 81st for clearances, very good for aerials won, touches in the defensive penalty area and miscontrols good as well. So when he's dropping in to sort of play in defensive areas, play out the back, he's pretty technically secure. So there's a lot of stuff from a pure out and out six perspective that look pretty good for Zubimendi's numbers. Now, if you're also wondering whether he's anything of an upgrade on Jorginho in terms of physicality and getting around the pitch, some Champions League running data will tell you that there probably is. In terms of the minutes played, you got there, Zubimendi's played every single minute of the Champions League group stage for Sociedad, but you can also see that distance per 90 in kilometres, he's covered more, and his top speed is higher than Jorginho's as well. So that tells you that there is something a little bit more physically that he might bring to the six over Jorginho. So the question that was asked there by Joe, and it's a great question, I don't think he's wrong, is to ask, is this a look ahead essentially to what we might do if we've got a Douglas Luiz and a Zubimendi? And I think my answer to that is Zubimendi might not be as close to Jorginho as people think. I think he's a bit taller, I think he's a little bit more physical, and it looks like, I'm not saying Jorginho is bad defensively, but it looks like he actually has more strengths in that area, and they're not so outweighed by his passing if they are at all. But whether this was a look ahead to what Arteta might do with Zubimendi, I think quite possibly, because when you look back to what I talked about on the tactical pad, and the build-up shape and having 2 6s there with an ability to get forward and press high up the pitch, Arsenal focused a lot on their defensive shape, their building out the back, and how they press against teams. And it feels like Zubimendi is made to play in that kind of role we saw against Liverpool alongside of Declan Rice. And I don't think that you're going to look. I don't think his passing is not good enough to a point where you go, oh, we're not going to be able to progress up the pitch. I think he's certainly very good in that area, but I don't know if he's quite another Jorginho, but he certainly looks tailor-made for what Mikel Arteta did against Liverpool, and if we're to use that next season against bigger teams as well. And I just want to say a really big thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, actually hit the links right here to watch more content like this, including my Football First podcast, which drops every Monday to Friday at 6 AM. And I know it's annoying, I am really sorry to have to ask, but if you want to show support to the channel, hitting the like and subscribe buttons help promote the content much more than you could possibly know. Thanks again.